First of all, I'd like to just say good morning to everybody and welcome. Thank you very much for taking time out to join us, to tune into our webinar. We do really appreciate the time that you give us and to come and listen to what we have to say. So thank you for that. Today I have a special guest who we'll be chatting to, taking through some of her hints and tips. But before we get into that, I'm just going to hand it over to my co-host who has put this webinar together for us. And so over to you, Leanne.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Leanne Markham, and today I'm very excited. We'll be talking Organizing Like a Pro in partnership with Candice Prins from TheLabb.
Cool. Now, before we get started with chatting to Candice, I'm just going to take you through some of the housekeeping, the webinar etiquette. We obviously have muted you all and switched off your videos to save on bandwidth and keep that to a minimum. There is the chat function, the Q&A. If you want to ask Candice a question, you want something, you've got a burning issue that you want to deal with, click on that. At the end of the session, we'll be handling all of those. We'll run through the questions and Candice can answer them for you. We are also recording this session today. So we will then post that link on all our social media, well, not all our social media channels, the right social media channels, but make sure that if your friends or colleagues couldn't be here this morning, that they can still see the content and it will be available for everybody out there. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get on. Candice, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think let's just start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and we'll get into it from there.
Awesome. Hi, Leanne. Hi, Jason. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super chuffed to be here today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Friday morning. A little bit about me. I'm a business owner. I'm based in Joburg, and I'm obsessed with organizing. Arranging and compartmentalizing just keeps me sane, you know, in this mad world that we live in. So yeah, it's what I do, and I love what I do. And I think in a nutshell, that's me.
Cool.
Thank you, Candice. Can I ask you to please just expand a little bit more on your background?
Yes, sure. Okay. So a bit about my background. After qualifying as an interior decorator, I ventured into the job market. And first I worked as a kitchen designer. And then I moved on more into the training space. So I hosted workshops on practical ideas in design. I was fortunate enough to travel abroad and to learn, everything there is to know about practicality, functionality, and that's really what I'm all about. And almost 2 years ago, I decided to venture into the world of entrepreneurship. And that was when I started TheLabb, my business. Yeah.
Cool. So tell us a little bit, what was the thinking behind TheLabb? What were you hoping to achieve with starting this business?
So I saw a need in the trade and homeowner space for a holistic organizing service that would, help two very important target markets. So the one being the homeowner, to just add those finishing touches. I found that a lot of homeowners were extremely overwhelmed, especially at the end of their renovation or their new build projects. Everything just becomes too much, and it's incredibly stressful dealing with a million contractors, and I've seen this over and over and over again. So yeah, my job is really to help homeowners to find their zen and to move into their homes beautifully packed, beautifully organized. And then also my trade clients, so being interior designers, kitchen designers, architects, developers, I almost found that they needed a little bit of peace of mind. It can be really overwhelming trying to figure out how to add the finishing touches, i.e. organize their client's kitchen with all of the different dividers that are on the market. It's extremely overwhelming, can become quite technical. And so what I do is as I say, give them peace of mind, they then don't need to be a fundi on all of these accessories. Another benefit that I thought I could bring to the market was to be able to allow my trade clients to separate their budgets. So their construction budgets and their cabinetry budgets completely separate from the accessories and the added extras, which of course then brought their pricing down. I found it quite helpful to take my different organizers, dividers, all of the things I love to my clients' homes. And I travel to site with samples, which makes a huge difference. Client can feel, touch, experience, see their actual items being organized before they make their informed decision. The site visit also helps me to really analyze storage requirements and to get to grips with what is really needed in their homes. And then lastly, a full action plan. So that's what I develop. It's also available virtually. And yeah, this is what we need, right? We need to be organized physically, but also, I suppose, virtually. We need to see, okay, what is going to happen in the space? I need 5 of these, 10 of those in that section for this, and that's it.
Lovely.
Thank you, Candice.
Thanks.
Please will you share with all of us the benefits of being more organized, especially during this very strange time while we've all been facing a pandemic? Can organizing be used as a coping mechanism?
Well, I definitely think that organizing can be used as a coping mechanism. When we think of trying to get organized or maybe spring cleaning, some people might become a bit anxious. But I think we need to flip that around, and we really need to kind of turn that anxiety into the light at the end of the tunnel, which would be reducing anxiety, because that's what organizing does. At the moment, the world is a little bit out of control. I think we can all agree with that. And so I think that becoming more tidy, more organized can help you gain back that control. And I'm sure we'd all like to do that too. So it's been proven. So Psychology Today, for example, have done a lot of research, and it's been proven that unorganized spaces negatively impact our stress levels and anxiety levels at work and at home. And who needs that? I need more stress, said no one, right?
Right.
So, I mean, the benefits of being organized would be, one of them is you're no longer wasting time looking for those precious items that you need. Like your keys that fall into a black hole, or your pair of scissors that somehow ends up in the kiddie's toys or wherever, you know, it happens. So reducing the time looking for things. And then I think the best benefit is just that feeling of bliss, right? Everything is tidy, everything is organized. I know where everything is. And I hope it's the same for everyone else. Well, yeah.
Yeah. And just like if you can sort of, there's a lot of chaos around you. So at least if your space is organized, you feel like you don't have to deal with that as well as deal with the chaos in the rest of the world. You can focus on where you have to. So that brings us to the point that our homes, and I mean, most of us have been in our homes a lot the last 5 or 6 months. You know, we've all been in there. A few of us are getting to venture out now. Our homes have sort of various living spaces. We know as South Africans, most of us have a fair amount of space available, especially in this suburban environment. And you know, you've got kitchens, living rooms, lounges. Some people are lucky enough to have studies or sewing rooms or workshops and things like that. So what would be one of the sort of some of the ideas or tips that you could share on how to start maybe getting organized within your kitchen? What would be like the tips that you normally would give to your clients to start looking at?
Okay, so if we look at the kitchen to start off with.
Well, I think
the main thing is to focus, and that is my biggest tip. So focus on one area at a time. So there's a saying, how can you eat an elephant one piece at a time? I hate that because I'm vegan, but how do you wash an elephant or pet an elephant? You have to wash him one bit at a time. And the same thing goes for your kitchen. So if you're opening every single cupboard, you're just going to end up moaning about all this chaos, all this mess. And soon you and your whole family are going to be in this huge brawl, and no one needs that. So one cupboard at a time. And my second biggest tip is to tackle that cupboard that you cannot stand. So tackle that one first and move forward, because once you've done that, you'll have that energy to move on. If you leave that uninspiring, horrible sink cupboard for last, then you're setting yourself up for failure and you're going to lose steam. So those are my two biggest tips. And
I see what I've been doing wrong. I like to open all my cupboards, empty everything, and then go, oh, it's too much. Walk away.
It happens. Okay. Yeah, so if you're going to attempt that by yourself, those are my top two tips. If you're really struggling, get a pro in. It makes a huge difference. It's a good investment. So I think you saw how that drawer was completely transformed, and that's just another example of a very quick fix for a cleaning cupboard. So keep everything off the ground or off the bottom or base of your cabinet. Some more tips: create piles of items. So when you're tackling that one cupboard, that one area, categorize your items into different sort of categories. So one would be trash, ideally recycle, please. And then another box or pile of things that can be placed elsewhere.
Right.
And then another idea is to donate items. There are a lot of charitable organizations, animal sanctuaries who could really, really use that extra, your excess. So think about that, homeless shelters as well. And then, of course, gifting. Gift your unwanted goods. But it's really important for us to take stock anyway. I think the biggest sort of game changer would be using durable organizers. I have found that some, I've tried quite a few in the market, and it's really important to use something that's tried and trusted and something that is not going to break in a few months' time.
Cool.
As South Africans, we have a culture of excessive shopping. But this coronavirus pandemic has made people more conscious, not just about how they spend their money, but also about how they live in general. What are your suggestions in how people can adopt minimalism going forward?
Okay, well, I completely agree with that. I think we do have this culture of excess, and I think we could adopt minimalism. I would really recommend it, or at least just attempt to. Again, I think it's important to take stock of what we have. We are at the moment, I'm finding we're thinking twice about our purchases, which is a good thing, but we might already have some excess that can be, as I say, donated. Yeah.
I think what you're saying is quite kind of valid. I know that for me, I'm a throwaway kind of person. It's like if you can't use it anymore, throw it away and get rid of it. But my wife hates that. She absolutely hates throwing things away. So I had to find a way. So as long as she feels like somebody else is going to get some use from it, then we can let it go. But I can't just put it into the dustbin. So I think it's quite an interesting thing how people deal with their excess and in terms of what they're wanting to do with it. But yeah, I agree. It's finding those avenues where you can donate it or let somebody else get some use out of it, but you don't always need it. I think that's the thing is we tend to hang on to these things thinking, oh, I might need this. And then you kick yourself in 6 months' time. But really, you can get away with a lot of stuff.
True. I'm going to give you an example. I recently completed my spring clean, and I found that I had about 16 coffee mugs. And I've never had 16 people over at the same time drinking coffee together. I have never been in that situation. And so my husband and I attempted the spring clean together, which was great because he's even more organized than I am, believe it or not. But we decided to keep, I think we have 4 mugs now. And again, we won't have 4 people over at the same time drinking coffee. So things like that, and 5 spatulas down to 2. Because I have my 2 favorite spatulas that work really, really well. But the rest of them are pretty. I bought them because they're pretty. And how I feel right now, having only 2 spatulas, 4 coffee mugs, only 1 set of cutlery in the same cutlery insert, is I've loosened my attachment to those excess items that I thought were pretty, that were great at the time. And my physical clutter is mental clutter. And right now I feel very calm. Because everything's organized at home.
I have a friend, he's the same. When his wife buys sort of new mugs, he goes to the cupboard and takes out, if she's bought 4 new mugs, he takes 4 out and says, well, we did perfectly fine without them originally. So we don't need more. And I don't know if she enjoys that, but that's his style. So, of course, we've chatted. I mean, the kitchens is one thing, the focus and starting with the worst cupboard. Your real dreaded. I think of that book, Eating the Frog, and you kind of have to hit the topic, the one cupboard you would rather put off first and get over that, and then move on to the easier stuff. Now, a lot of people have been sort of working at home and are still working at home. What would be your advice for those new home offices that are springing up in terms of what do they do with that space? How do they treat that space?
Okay, Leon and Jason, we had this discussion yesterday, and you have 2 very different home office spaces, which I found quite interesting. So Leon, you mentioned that you don't have a dedicated space, right?
No.
And Jason, you have 3 dedicated spaces.
That's how I roll.
So I thought about it this morning. I haven't really tackled a home office yet during the lockdown, but I think it's important to have all of your office equipment in portable sort of baskets or containers. That's one piece of advice I'd have, preferably with handles. So that you can cart all of your things to wherever you're going. So in your case, Leon, that would be maybe, I don't know, stored in a cupboard, away, out of plain sight, because you don't have a dedicated office space. You can bring it out to wherever you are working. I'm not sure where that is.
Yeah, wherever's vacant. That's right.
And then likewise for you, Jason, because you have 3 different areas. I'm not 100% sure what you do in each of them, but if you feel like moving to the next or the second or the third one, you could then take all of your items neatly. And I suppose then you're not moving from each of the areas to find your items. They move with you. So that's one idea. And I think it's time. We've been in lockdown for what, 5-6 months?
Yes.
Some of us are already comfortable in our home office spaces, but we can make a difference from today. If we are feeling a little bit untidy or that things are a little bit untidy, we can set a precedent for the rest of the year, and let's finish off this year on a bang, or with a bang. Sorry.
For sure. So very recently, we ran a competition in the PG Bison On Trend digital magazine in collaboration with Candice and TheLabb. It was indeed very successful. And I'd like to take this moment just to congratulate Nolene Erasmus, who won a fantastic prize from TheLabb valued at 3,900 Rand. So Candice, let's just address the responses to the question, what is your biggest kitchen organizing challenge?
Okay, awesome. So before I go into the answers that I received, I just want to congratulate Nolene Erasmus. And I actually have our virtual consult later on at 2:00. So I'm super excited about that. So The answers that I received were quite amusing and very interesting. I loved reading through them. And by the way, I will be getting back to every single person. And that, I think, was about 250 answers.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out on your inboxes. The first one, there's your home office inspiration. The first one was Tupperware cupboard. So Tanya van Zale mentioned, my Tupperware cupboard is always untidy and I'm always searching for the lids. So if you're keeping your lids on your containers, you are then probably stacking them up either in a shelved cupboard or in a drawer. And this isn't really the best way to optimize your space. So what I like to do is use a divider in a drawer and then separate the lids and almost create a bit of a library. So like you can see on the slide, lids are completely separate from the containers, which are stacked into each other, allowing for a little bit more room to play with in the drawer. So that's what I like to do. And then the second one, a lot of people mentioned that their spice cupboards are a mess. I can imagine. I think we enjoy cooking at home as South Africans. So if we have a spice drawer or a drawer where we can, add an insert for our spices, then I'm sure they get messy because we're always cooking. We love cooking. We love food. And so one way that you can compartmentalize this area would be to use a portable insert. So something with handles. And I quite like this insert that I use often. And so you can take it out of the drawer or the cupboard, put it next to your hob, and then use your spices as you wish, or take it out to the braai area, which is great. And then you can also see at the bottom here, bottom left, I've got your oil bottles nicely organized there. So any sort of division you can find is going to make your life way better in that area. Dry ingredients and pantry storage. So Guguletu Mfene mentioned that her pasta, rice, cereals, flour, samp is terrible, and then she had an unhappy face. One idea is to, again, find a container that's going to fit your cupboard or your drawer or your shelf, and then decant as far as possible, and use a scoop like I have here for one of my clients. You can see I've used these containers. They have lids and I neatly labeled everything, which is great. And this was actually in her cooking area. So right next to her hob, she uses her rice, flour, beans, samp, millie meal every single day. So it was important for that not to be in the pantry, which was a little bit far away, but close to where she was cooking. And like I say, these containers made a huge difference. What I love to do, if you have a pantry with shelves, or if you have a pantry cupboard with drawers that pull out, I love using glass canisters. Those are the best. They last the longest. There is also a brand that I like using that is Perspex, and it's got a pop lock sort of mechanism on the lid, and that just creates that extra seal, which is lovely. And then of course labeling those, I love doing that. So any sort of canister you can find, but please go for something that is tried and trusted, because some of the plastic ones could end up breaking, and they don't last long. And this is something that you can invest in. You really can spend your money in that area. And as I say, glass is the way to go. I love that.
Okay.
And then the last one was organizing your knives and larger spoons. And again, an unhappy face, shame. So this drawer is a huge, huge, huge issue for a lot of people. I think the main thing is to store your knives safely, really. Because if you have a mess like that, I'm going to go back to that slide, and you're looking for your knife, that really sharp cleaver, it's dangerous, especially if you have kids in the home. And even if you don't, I mean, scratching through that is a hazard. So neatly and safely organizing your knives is key. So use a knife holder where possible. And then I think I have another example here of how I've stacked the knives in a divider. So stack them neatly in a section of the drawer, and then larger spoons. So I'm assuming that's utensils. And utensils, again, I think it's great to keep them in their own section. And where possible, separate your cooking utensils. So things that you use in the oven or in the pot, keep them in one section. If you have the luxury of separating those into one separate drawer, that's phenomenal. If not, keep it in one section, and then your peelers, graters, knives, keep those preparation items also separate. I think that will really work well. So that was it.
Great. Now, so one more thing. I mean, this is I think my biggest problem is that I have a massive clean out to get everything in order, but then, you know, in 2 weeks' time, it pretty much looks the same again. It just kind of gently drifts back to where it was. What would you suggest is one of the ways to kind of keep it going, that you know, you maintain, that it always looks ordered and neat and tidy? What would be your suggestion?
So I'm going to ask you a question, Jason.
Oh,
how does it get to that point? Would you say that it would be your family members that contribute to that drawer going back to its messy state? Is it a team effort?
Pretty much me on my own.
Okay.
So
okay.
You know, I think, yeah, in certain parts it's between my wife and I that it goes back to what it is, but it's certainly in my own areas, my own sort of spaces in the house, my man cave and things like that, where it'll very quickly degenerate into chaos. You know, just because I mean, yeah, like pull things out and go, oh, that's nice, leave it where it is, and I walk away, and you know.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you can compartmentalize, containerize, I love that word. I don't even think that's in the dictionary, but it's so important to do that, really. Label where you can. There are awesome labeling machines on the market, and they are Bluetooth ready, so you can have an app on your phone and you can quickly print a label through this Bluetooth label printer. That will make a huge difference, I think. And then if there are areas in your home that slowly drift back to being a little bit unorganized, probably because a few other family members are using it. So I think it's important to tackle an organizing task together as a team.
Okay.
And where possible, assign different tasks to each family member. So get everyone involved. I think when everyone's invested and they've played their part, they will follow through. And if everything is also neatly compartmentalized and everyone knows where everything belongs, you hold thumbs and hope that everyone will, yeah, as I said, play their part. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you very much. I think that's pretty much, Leon, are we happy?
Yeah. No, I think we need to go over to the question and answer section. I see that we have a few questions coming in.
Okay.
So maybe we can tackle those.
Right, let's do that. All right. So let's start here. In fact, is it Dulcie had a really cool little comment there. I love this. If in doubt, pack in a box, date the box, store in the garage somewhere. If you haven't opened the box in a year, donate it with the entire box as is without opening it. I think it's a really cool idea, because the worst is you open that box, you look inside and go, oh, I need this. And you take it out again and put it back inside. So great advice there, Dulcie. Thank you. Hi, Candice. Which labeling machine do you recommend? That is from PM. I can't see your full name.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so
I'm seeing
there is a Brother labeling machine. It's called, I think, a P-Touch.
Okay.
And so you can print, I stand under correction, between 60 mils and 120 mils or 12 mils. Sorry, it's 12 mils. So that would be the width of your label, and then you can create any length you want. And I quite like that one because the ribbons that you get can be clear, and then you can, for example, on a storage canister in your pantry, you can use a clear label with white writing, which is very trendy at the moment. Or you can purchase one that has black writing, whatever you prefer. And yeah, so there are various different colors. I really like that one.
Okay, fantastic, cool. Right. Fazi, where can I buy budget-friendly storage containers and organizational items? How do I get rid of weevils in my pantry shelves? Do you want me to read that slowly again? Sorry, I just...
No.
Okay, so they're looking for budget-friendly storage containers?
Okay, so where can you buy those budget-friendly? I think Westpac has quite a few nice ones.
Mm-hmm.
Budget friendly. I also have a few budget friendly options on my website, so please go and have a look at labb.co.za. And it's a brand new website built in lockdown. And yeah, so I'm slowly increasing my range. Of course, I have so many different options, and it just takes so long to add everything in or on. So give me a call, tell me what you're looking for, send me a photo of what needs to be stored, and I'll give you the right or I'll give you the right suggestion, or I'll give you a recommendation of where you can find that.
Cool. All right, sorry, I'm just seeing some
So I see, Jason, to that second part of Fazi's question about how do I get rid of weevils in my pantry.
Yes.
I see on the chat, Dulcie has given a bit of a suggestion there.
Oh, that's great, because I'd like to learn about that too.
So Dulcie says,
you carry on.
It says, weevils in your flour and grains, etc. Put in a few dried bay leaves.
Oh, wow.
Does not taint the flour.
Cool.
So try that. I'm going to see if I ever have a problem, if that works. Thanks, Dulcie.
Right.
Brilliant.
A few of the questions coming through are really specific product related. So I'm just going to say to all the attendees, we don't want to get into a specific this brand over that brand, or we recommend going, so because we can't do that here. So what I'm going to suggest is we're going to get Candice to put up her contact details. And then if you want to get hold of her and ask her what, recommendations and things like that, I'm sure she'll be able to put you in the, channel your queries. But I just don't want to get into very specific product details right now, because quite a few questions are relating to adjustable units and drawer dividers and things like that. Okay, if everybody could just do that. So I think, Leon, have you seen anything more? I'm just scrolling down through the questions.
Okay, so there's another one from Marano. How would you suggest home center education environments should be organized with the classical method of education? So I guess that talks to the homeschooling that's also going on at the moment.
Wow, that's a very interesting one. So the first thing I'd recommend is, where possible, have a cluster of drawers. Drawers are way better than cupboards with shelves. Of course, they cost a little bit more, but they are a great way, a great investment and a great way to organize almost anything. So I'm thinking taller drawers for files and textbooks and that sort of thing, so that you can almost get a whole view of everything. The drawer pulls out towards you and you can immediately find that item that you're looking for. And then likewise for stationery, of course, a drawer is the best thing for that.
Okay.
I think that would be it. But I'd be very keen to explore that some more. My sister is actually a teacher, so that's quite a very cool topic that person has brought up. Sorry, I didn't catch their name.
I can tell you now. It was
Murano, I think.
Yeah.
Murano.
From Simon, we have, hi Candice, how do you deal with tall cupboard storage? That shelf on the very top of the pantry cupboard, is there anything specific on the market? My wife would love that. Everything sort of from here up is missing for her.
So if you're looking for something that is going to almost pull down, there is a product on the market. As I understand, it's made for shallower cupboards. So if your tall cupboard is a 600 deep or one of those deeper pantry cupboards, I would recommend using a big sort of container with a handle where possible.
Yeah.
So place all of those items that you hardly use up there. So you're not going to be placing things that you use every single day there. That's very important, I think. But something that's easily accessible. If you're going to be placing smaller items just on the shelf up there, you're going to need a ladder. And that's really quite frustrating to constantly have to
sort out a ladder.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just quickly.
I did see, Jason, that we also had a hand raised from Alette.
Yes. Alette, do you want to type your question? So I just recently tapped into the professional organizing industry, and I'm finding that South African market is slow, or maybe people are just afraid of having strangers in their homes due to COVID. What has been your experience? So I think this is getting into people's houses. As you said, I think you're doing a couple of virtual consults and things like that these days.
So during the lockdown, I did quite a few virtual consults. So one way, Alette, that you can do this is to use something like WhatsApp video. If your client is not too comfortable with having anyone in their home, they can take you on a virtual tour. So meet with them on WhatsApp, let them take over the video and show you what needs to be organized. And then, of course, send you photos afterwards if need be. And if your client is able to measure up, that's great. So get them to have their measuring tape handy and together come up with an awesome plan. What my experience has been, so clients are only now really starting to warm up to having someone in their home. It's really important to sanitize. So what I do is I wear 2 masks just to make my client feel really comfortable and also to protect myself. So protecting both.
Super. All right. So I think then, it's pretty much a lot of them are specifically product related. So if it's all right, what we'll do, Candice, do you have your website and details that you can just share that with everybody? And if anybody wants to get hold of you, they can then.
All right. So if you want to get in touch, you can reach me through my website, lab.coza. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at TheLabb. Or you can drop me an email, hello@lab.co.za.
Super. All right.
Fab.
Well, I think then that's it. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to say thanks for spending some time with us and chatting about what you're so passionate about, and we really appreciate it. And thank you to all the attendees for joining us, for being here today and listening to this webinar. Like I said, we will be within the next week posting a link, so if anybody else you want your colleagues to have a look at it or whatever, it will be available. All content will be out there. And then stay tuned. We are actually hoping to have our next webinar in September, where we will be talking to the guys from CompuSoft and discussing our own kitchen design tool, and just sort of talking through if people are finding any sort of stumbling blocks or challenges in using it. We'll be talking with them to see how and what to do in that whole program. Leanne, I think anything from your side?
That's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you to Candice. Thank you to you, Jason, as a co-host, and just to everyone for joining us. I think it was rather interesting. And look forward to the next one.
Super. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good Friday. Enjoy your weekends.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Goodbye, Candice. Chat to you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.